Big production.
Yo, what is poppin'? Alright, so we're gonna break down a bunch of random stocks. I've had this on my watch list for most of the year. It's a mix of different stocks and different sectors and different industries, kind of giving me an idea of what's going on type of thing, kind of across the market. It's really random, but here's a few oil stocks to start. We have SGY. So this one, we topped out right at the beginning of June, and then we hit this hard consolidation period. But it looks like we're getting a breakout. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, and now we're breaking up above that. So we want to see eventually, right? Will we come and double top in that range? Will we fight through this resistance slowly and just trek upward like this? See this? Will this happen right above this zone? Right, we need to pay attention to this now because it's been here for a while. Will we come up into this area, fight it, and break above? Right, so it would look like something like this if this happens. Right, we break above, do something like this. Doesn't have to go all the way up, but then we battle that, make sure it's support. We would look for something like this to happen if this wants to continue higher. Just because, like, we don't know what's going to go on with oil, but if oil prices increase again, all these stocks will likely get a little pump out of it. But that's what I'm looking at here on SGY. CPG, this is another name that's an oil name, and it's looking good here where it's above the 8 EMA for sure. It looks interesting. A lot of these names, I like SGY the most out of a lot of these oil names I've been watching. But look, here we're above the 8 EMA on pretty much all time frames, and that looks good. Weekly time frame looks nice. Big cup handle, right? What happens if this here is the handle, right? This huge pattern here. We could look at it maybe something like this, right? Whatever. All this play here. Here's the big cup handle, and then what happens if it continues, right? This could be a huge continuation play. Who really knows? But that's another look on CPG. ARX, again, cup, handle, big volume, nice consolidation. It's holding up. This looks like it wants to go higher for sure. And again, the targets are 25. It's at 19. That's a pretty decent trade there. Gold, I've been watching a little bit of GLD. Just looks rough. Really does look rough. You want to see it base out in this level. It looks like a buy right now in my opinion. But man, I'd much rather invest in other things than gold. Silver, silver's got upside too, but this would be a nice higher low to buy at. Gold and silver are buys right now. Do I like them as assets? I think there's better ones out there, but there you go. So here we go, right? Bmbl, we've been watching this one for a while. We got this lower trend line intact. We're still looking for something like this though, in my opinion, right? Holding this trend line, we come up, break above this eventually, test, back test, go. That's what we want to see. It's definitely forming some sort of maybe an inverse head and shoulders here, man. I like this setup. I'm not touching it. I'm leaving it. But look at that big volume coming in. We want to see that come up again, right? That to give us that signal that we want to go. Look for that volume. We want to see big volume coming in. Any of these stocks, we want to see big volume coming in, right? Sklz, again, this is one of the tech stocks I'm watching. This is what I'm starting to like about this name. We're starting to look at this curl up, right? Still in a bear market, but we're starting to get that. Look at that. We're starting to get those curls that look like we want to force it to the upside. Like we could continue. Like right now we have this, right? But we could look up to something like this potentially. And if we get a higher low and we keep looking and we keep going and it does something like this, it's going to eventually run away. When is that going to happen? No one knows. Is that going to happen? Could probably maybe not happen, but that's what I'm looking for. This one's a nice slow one. Let it fizzle out. It's been going sideways for a while, right? Look at this, since January 2021, right? So almost 2 years. Think of it. We're coming up to that time, January. I'm excited. 2023 looks like it's going to be an interesting time in the markets. Like, this name, I think, has massive upside. Look, imagine if something like this happens again, right? I'll pull this up. I've brought it up a million times, but like, you can't like ignore basic cycles in the market, and I feel like that's why it's kind of important to have shit like this. But look, right? This is a regular cycle in the market. This is what happens, right? Again, and this is how they repeat. From disbelief, you come right back into here, and things get crazy again, right? You could look at them a few different ways. You could look at it like this as well, right? Overall, same idea, but this is market cycles. Like, this is how it does its thing. What happens if this, look, right? Like, again, I have this on the watch list. I'm just watching, but the opportunity's there on a lot of these names. This is what we want to see. We want to see some of these characteristics start to change and equal out, right? And then slowly tip to the upside. And eventually, big money's going to see these names and they're going to start ramping it up. Shopify, we've talked about this a million times. Crct. So this is one of the names that's starting to get that action, right? So I broke this down a few weeks ago. Exactly what I thought was going to happen ended up playing out. So look at this weekly time frame. Big candle. Look at this inside bar. This will zoom in. In my opinion, this is just indicating that we need to take our time now. Like, that is a sign that we could, this is our top for a while. That's it. This is our top. And now we need to develop a massive pattern before we continue to break up above this level. Like, this, think of it, went from the very bottom up 100% essentially. So it's a quiet name, but it's a mover. Like, it's been moving. So I do think that right now that might be the top. We're gonna intermediate top, right? Like, we're gonna watch it develop a pattern and do some shit in the next little while to see, right? Like, maybe we come back and retest this $8 zone, right, before we move on upward again. But again, these are just some names that I've been watching. DBX, massive pattern. I'm going to zoom out on the weekly. But again, something like this is what I'm watching on DBX. Long time frame trade. But we want this to hold and get a reaction to make this trend line valid. You could adjust it a few inches and shit like that, but for the most part, that's what I'm watching. Weekly time frame on DBX. Rmbl, this one I just added. It's essentially what Rmbl is they're a decentralized YouTube. That's essentially what Rmbl is, and I've been kind of watching it, just paying attention, but I don't know, man. This shit, it could be a complete flop. Again, Mmed. This, again, look where we're at. Look at this zone. We're right at IPO levels. It might be time to kick it. My buddy sent me a link recently about psychedelics. There's a psychedelic company in Vancouver that has been like talked about on Bloomberg or some of these big news channels and stuff, and it's just a matter of time, right? Like, think of it. Look what happened to the pot stocks. Like, I'm thinking it's inevitable that there's going to be some sort of hype run in these psychedelic stocks. Is it going to relate to the significance and the magnitude of the pot stock era? Who knows? But I think there's a play in there, right? There's definitely some hype. Look at this massive zone, right? Obviously, this is the massive resistance we need to get over. This, it got a reverse split, so this is around $90. So right now it's at 420. Not too sure what the metrics are when it comes to the float and the available supply, shit like that. But back to IPO levels. So we'll again highlight it like this. I think you're coming into big buy areas. There's upside once you get to these levels. Manage your risk wisely, though, because again, this thing could do something like this. Who really knows? Obviously, it won't go negative 20, but maybe 2 pennies. And that's it. So that's the breakdown there. Peace.